Without any further ado, let me welcome to the program one of America's leading journalists, political analyst for Fox News, regular on the Sunday morning Fox News panel. That's just great entertainment for my Sunday morning. You read his column at foxnews.com and for The Hill. He hosted NPR's Talk of the Nation for a long time, former senior correspondent and political analyst for National Public Radio, until he was fired for sharing some honest viewpoints about his views when he hops on an airplane. Juan Williams is back with us on the Common Sense Club. Juan, congrats on the book. How are you?
I'm great, Scott. And Scott, before we get going, God bless. You know, going through something like that, I tell you, you understand how blessed we are in America to, first of all, to have that clinic there, but Scott, to have you, and I hope you're doing okay, buddy.
No, I'm doing fine. I really, I actually wrote a book myself called Grassroots, and I tell the story in the book about how I got to this point, and one of the ways I was so one of the reasons I was so proactive about my particular situation was because of my friendship with Tony Snow.
My gosh, Tony was my man. Okay,
he was a good man, and Tony had ulcerative colitis, which I did as well. And when you have ulcerative colitis, your risk of colon cancer goes way up, and so you have to be really careful about it. You have annual colonoscopies, and I did. And Tony and I, shortly after he left the White House, came out to do a speech here, and we had a conversation about it. I didn't know. I mean, obviously knew about his battle with colon cancer, but I didn't know colitis is what led to it. So we had a very strong heart-to-heart. And he said, boy, if you ever get the chance, you ever get any kind of a scare, get it out, because I wish I had done it. And so I was lucky enough to see some warning signs of precancerous cells, not cancerous, but precancerous. And so that's why I was very proactive about it. And now they're hooking me back up, so to speak. But, that was largely a result of Tony's guidance, rest his soul. He was a great man.
Well, he really was. He was my very good friend. We'd go out and watch baseball all the time, and I just tell you, I just saw him on a piece of tape about 9/11. On the Sunday after 9/11, Tony Snow talking about how we're all Americans now, and his chin trembling as he was speaking into the camera, and I just remember, I'd miss Tony so much. Yeah.
I do, too. Just a real, genuine, awesome individual. He really was, and I miss him a lot as well. I mentioned the book that I wrote. It took me, I got spun up about the Tea Party movement, so I wrote a book called Grassroots about the Tea Party movement, but never done anything like that before. Obviously radio talk show host and talking to the microphone for decades, but not write a book. But that was a project, just chronicling all the different things I was seeing and I'm thinking, my gosh, this incident with you and NPR happened not all that long ago, and here you are cranking out a book already. You're a master. You're a maestro.
Well, this is my 7th book, but I did it under some intense pressure because they wanted to take advantage of the fact that it was still in the news, that things were still happening, and so it was a pressure-packed operation. But I feel really proud of it, Scott, because, it's one of those moments when as a writer you think, I got it right. And what I'm hearing from people is there's so many people in America who feel they can't say what's on their mind, that they're told to bite their tongue, they're told to shut up, they're told you're not going to be a good member of our club, whether it's Democrat, Republican. I can go into all kinds of different groups. But any group you choose, people say, if you say that, you may offend somebody or somebody may take it the wrong way. And the result is you got a lot of people biting their tongues. And I think that's why when NPR fired me, Scott, for simply saying that I get nervous if I see someone in Muslim garb when I'm getting on a plane, it wasn't just about me getting fired. A lot of Americans said, what is going on? You can't tell people what you feel anymore? That's against the rules? Where did that start?
And by the way, find me somebody on a boards an airplane that didn't share the sentiment that you expressed. I mean, that's just being honest. And that's not, I don't think that's our fault. I don't think that suggests you harbor any racist viewpoints or bigotry. It's just how could you not have that feeling post 9/11?
Well, that's the way I felt. I mean, you know what? I felt I said this in the course of trying to make an argument. In other words, I was engaged in a debate. And not only that, Scott, I went on to say America is a land of religious liberty. That's the America I love, and I'm not suggesting we discriminate against anybody. I don't draw conclusions about all Christians based on Timothy McVeigh. I said all this at the time. So I was making an argument in terms of we have to, even as we acknowledge there is a legitimate link, Scott, between radical Islam and terrorism. And I'm not just talking 9/11. I could take you, the Times Square bomber, the shoe bomber, Madrid, London subway. I could keep going and going. But you can't just pretend politically, as much result of political correctness, I shouldn't say that there's a link between radical Islam and terror. I'd be a fool.
You were in the eye of the storm. Use a little hurricane vernacular here. Through this whole thing last fall after you made that comment, given the fact that, this is obviously, as you said it in the course of the debate, you can defend it. It was an honest comment, but do you regret it all saying it given what it put you through?
No, I've never had one of those wake up in the middle of the night moments, and I don't know about you, Scott, but I'm in front of a microphone a fair amount, in front of the TV camera, in front of the public, and I occasionally have moments where I think, I should have said that differently, but this is not one of those moments. I said what was on my mind. I expressed a genuine feeling. I did not say it in order to be a provocateur or to, get attention for myself because I'm a media guy who was wanting attention. None of that. I honestly feel that way, and it's as a result, as I said, of being in the post-9/11 world. We're at the 10th anniversary, and to this day, I still have that anxiety. So it wasn't meant, and as I said, I went on very clearly to say it's not the basis for any kind of discriminatory policy. I understand history. I understand, discrimination. As you know, I'm a black person, and, it's interesting. Some of the liberals came at me with, so what if a white man was walking down?
Hold that thought, if you would. Hold that thought, Juan. We'll pick up on the other side of the break, up against the hard break. You're Muzzled, the assault on honest debate, published by Crown. More with Juan Williams after this on the Common Sense Club. All right, back on the Common Sense Club. The book is Muzzled, the assault on honest debate. Juan Williams with us on the program. Before the break, you were talking about some of the liberal friends of yours and their reaction to it. I didn't mean to interrupt you. They were at a hard break, but go ahead and finish your thought, Juan.
No, we've got to take those hard breaks, Scott. And I don't know about friends, but people who were trying to undermine me and embarrass me said, you're a black person, and if a white guy was walking down the street late at night and saw a group of thuggish-looking black kids and said, hey, I'm crossing the street or I'm hitting a lock on my door, you, Juan Williams, you'd say that man's a racist. I said, no, to the contrary, I do the same thing. I live in Washington, D.C. It's mostly black city. I grew up in New York City. I think it would be street smart to do that, avoid trouble. Not only that, I think that given the rate of black-on-black crime in America, I have every reason to do it. So, but again, they want to play racial games. They want to call people racist and bigots. Scott, imagine if I wasn't black, if I hadn't written books about the history of the civil rights movement, they fell on me like a ton of bricks. Obviously, I'm not a good person and I'm fired. But I'm saying the ease with which they throw around racist, bigot, crazy right-winger, bleeding heart liberal, all the kinds of monikers they want to stick on you so they can dismiss you, marginalize, not listen to you. It's incredible, and I think that's what people respond to in my situation. Yeah. They're responding to their own feeling of being muzzled.
It's a torrent. I loathe the policies of this president. I happen to think it's great that he is an African-American president. We have the one for the first time shattered that ceiling. It's fantastic. That warms my heart. But his policies make me ill, and so saying that shouldn't make me racist. Yet if I listened to Bill Maher the other night or whatever clip it was, this is about him. This isn't about the the entree. It's about the waiter. This is about because of the, they don't like the color of his skin. It has nothing to do with his color of his skin, but it is. I think that's what you're talking about when you label much of our dialogue an assault on honest debate, right?
Look, the president is the president. He's a politician. He has policies, and you and I, Scott, can argue about his policies. But to suggest that because we differ on his policies, it's about race, again, I think those are people who are desperate, who have no other refuge in terms of their arguments, who feel so desperate, and so maybe they feel so disappointed with him. But that's a fact that we are arguing about policies, and their preoccupation with race is what's revealed by their comments, that Bill Maher comment.
Now, by the way, Fox News is a target for a lot of this. I happen to be a big fan of Fox News Channel because I think they they do coverage better than a lot of the networks out there, which is borne out in the success they've had financially, ratings-wise, and everything else. But you're sort of a target just because you're of a different political viewpoint than the majority of maybe folks that are on Fox News Channel, a Hannity, a Bill O'Reilly, whatever. But the left doesn't like Fox News Channel much. Is that not an example of their assault on honest debate?
I think it is. And here's the thing. They don't like the idea that I'm talking to Bill or to Sean. They don't like that. They don't understand. Wait a second. You're not an orthodox conservative, so why are you talking to these people? And they really didn't like the idea that I was on NPR and Fox, and I think that was the pretext, Scott, for a lot of what happened, for the reason they were looking for something to happen that would give them justification for pushing me out the door. So I think that you're exactly right, that a lot of this is that in this new world, you're not supposed to cross political lines. You're not supposed to have a conversation with someone who has a different point of view and try to learn from that person as opposed to demonize that person. And the really shocking thing to me, Scott, I'll tell you the truth, is that, as a kid who grew up thinking, it's the right wing that's rigid, that's inflexible, that's the Archie Bunkers of the world. Oh, no, Scott. It's the liberals. That if you vary from a liberal orthodoxy in America today, then you will be shunned. You will be tarred. My boss at NPR said anything I say should be kept between me and a psychiatrist. She said that publicly in front of a TV camera, Scott. So in other words, I was going to be personally attacked, not only demonized, but diminished. The quality of my thinking, my work, was to be treated as totally negligible, without merit, without value. Now, Scott, you talk about something that I would regard as racist. That's pretty harsh.
Yeah, no kidding. And by the way, the double standard at NPR was unbelievable. Some of the things that Nina Totenberg and others had said that was okay. I mean, you were really probably targeted because they didn't like the idea that you shared your views on NPR for some of the same reasons that what I would call the loony left targets you, because you dare actually go in and share your opinions on Fox News Channel. That probably more than anything was what was under the hood of this whole firing from NPR, wasn't it?
That's what I think. And just to pick up on a point you made, if you're watching Fox News for all the flack that we take, here's my feeling, you can get both sides of the story. Yes, people are coming to the table often to see Bill or Sean and have people who are more conservative in their viewpoints, but I don't see that Fox News is foreclosing people from hearing the other side of the story, the other end of the debate. To the contrary, everybody's there. Everybody's at the table.
I want to give you a good example now, because we have the contrast of a Fox-hosted debate, a CNN-hosted debate, and an MSNBC-hosted debate in this Republican presidential sweepstakes. One thing I noticed is, when the debates end on Fox, they bring in the news people to do sort of the XYZ, here's what happened. Both MSNBC and CNN bring in the partisans.
Right.
Fox has its fair share of partisans. That's great, but they don't start with that, analyzing a debate. I mean, Rachel Maddow started the debate analysis on MSNBC, not somebody that's clearly got an opinion. So, I mean, I think actually Fox is doing this better than the others.
Oh, yeah. Imagine if we had Sean Hannity right out the box. No, that's not the case. We go to news people whose job it is to be, as journalists, fair and balanced, tell you the story, and then we bring in people who have opinions. But, this is like people who condemn Fox, but then they don't notice that in every hour, every single programming hour and through prime time, MSNBC has an ideologue hosting the show. They don't notice this. I don't think they wouldn't say that about Brett Baer, about Shepard Smith. I mean, they just couldn't do it.
By the way, it seems as though this president is also guilty of contributing to the assault on honest debate, especially through his straw man argument. I mean, you disagree with him, all of a sudden, you're for shutting down jobs in America or whatever. What role do you see Obama playing politically in the assault on honest debate?
Well, there's a great example I use in Muzzled, which is his refusal to use the word terrorism. He won't talk about it. He and Janet Napolitano, the Homeland Security Secretary, talk about man-made disaster, Scott, like something came out of the world, just man-made disaster. Man-made disaster, come on. We're talking about terrorism, and, I guess the argument here must be, we don't want to alienate anybody in the Muslim community by talking about terrorism and making it seem as if there's a war on terrorism, and they might, by inference, think there's a war on Islam. We're not talking about a war on Islam, and we have to just be honest. If we're going to combat and prevent terrorism, let's call it by its name. But instead, what you see is people playing games with words, avoiding the truth, I think, and it leads other people to think, you know what, this is not an honest debate. And then the feelings start to fester and anger builds, Scott, and I think then you get eruption. That's not good. In America, we should be free to speak our minds, talk to each other, listen to each other.
Well, it's good advice. Muzzled, the assault on honest debate. Juan Williams, our guest. Congrats on the book. Juan, good to catch up with you. Let's do it again.
I love it, Scott, and good luck, baby. I'm rooting for you. I'm praying for you.
I appreciate it very much. You take care. We'll take a break, come back. Rob Porter of the Say Anything blog and I will tackle the news headlines of the day. Don't go away.